my name's Rosie Talbot. My pronouns are she and her, and I am an author, a book tok-er, and a bookseller. So my next book is 12 Bones. It's coming out on the 12th of October, 12 Bones, the 12th of October. And it's in fact a sequel to my debut YA novel, 16 Souls, which is all about a teenage medium called Charlie who can see the dead. And when the ghosts of York are threatened, he teams up with the new seer in town called Sam to save them from a fate worse than death. So in 12 Bones, we join Charlie and Sam on a brand new adventure in the haunted city of York. I think inspiration for my work comes from all kinds of places. Honestly, it could be an overheard conversation on the bus, it could be a work of art in a museum I see, or a song I hear. But I think, particularly for this duology, 16 Souls and 12 Bones, what really inspired me was the question of what if? What if somebody is made extraordinary not by some innate magical ability or because they're the chosen one or a hero for some reason, but simply because they're extraordinary by the people around them who they can interact with that other people can't. And that's where the ghost story kind of came from. Being a book talker, an author, and also a bookseller simultaneously kind of happened simultaneously as well, strangely enough. So I was working for the National Trust in museums and galleries, and I decided I wanted to take my writing to the next level with an aim to publish. And when I made that decision, it happened to coincide with a necessary move. So I took a step back from the museums and galleries and decided to get a part-time job working for Waterstones because I thought that that would help inform me on the market and what was successful and what was selling, which it did. And it definitely helped me pick up some really interesting books and then sort of inform my writing and the area of writing I wanted to go into. And while all of that was going on, I joined social media partly because honestly, writing is a very lonely pastime. Doing it alone is hard, and there's an incredible community out there of authors who will support you. So I joined and I found readers and I built up my social media platform while I was doing the other things with the hope that one day when I had a book to put out into the world, I will have amassed a gathering of wonderful people who might be interested in reading it. So if you're an author and you're looking to build an online presence, I would say there's some key pieces of advice. And the first one is deciding whether or not you want to appeal to other authors or whether you want to appeal to readers or whether you want to appeal to both, because you can make a very successful account on both different directions. I personally decided that I was going to aim to connect to readers, partly because when I started out and I didn't have a book to sell, I thought it was best to read other people's books and review them and chat about them. And so I was growing a community of readers who then might be interested in my book. But other people have been very successful by giving writing tips or asking questions for other writers and having responses and creating a community engaged around the more authorial side of things. They both work, they're just slightly different options. So, really, the first thing is to pick which one or other options might be best for you and then pursue that. But then my second piece of advice would be do not be afraid to throw things out there and just see what sticks and see what works. The algorithm on all social media is a bit of a mysterious beastie. Don't be too disheartened if things don't go the way you expect. Just keep putting out content. I would say post consistently as you can, preferably every day. It is a bit of a time drain, but once you get used to it, you can film quite quickly. And the second thing would be focus on growing community first, not over numbers, because ultimately you're going to have a much better experience and you'll genuinely make friends for life as well. If you want to pursue a career in writing, read. Read everything. Set a time aside in your day, half an hour minimum, to read every day because you cannot write if you don't have the toolkit, and words are your toolkit. It's amazing how many people I meet who are writing or trying to write and they say they're struggling or they claim they're writing, but when I say, "What are you reading?" they're like, "Oh, I don't read." How are you supposed to write if you don't read? Honestly, get to know the area that you're writing in, read everything that you can, read outside your genre, just keep reading. When I'm writing and I sit down to do a session, I will pick maybe 5 books off my shelf at random and I will read a few pages of each just to get the words moving. It really works for me. And by selecting lots of different books, It means that no one authorial style is going to be too present in my mind and overtake my own voice. Um, and that really, really helps. Aside from that, don't think you have to write alone. There is an amazing author community out there. Everybody is so helpful. We know how hard it is. We've been through all the steps, and we want to help you get through all those gates and rise to the top and do incredibly well. So reach out for help. Authors are generally really friendly. So I am known for my pockets in a very strange way. I've definitely been at train stations and had people come up to me and say, "Are you that pocket lady?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, I am." And I the pockets came from partly a love of historical clothing. I've always enjoyed fabrics and clothing, and I've always been drawn to the very feminine, very ridiculously impractical styles. But I never had the confidence to actually wear it as everyday clothing. And then I lost a book on a train and it annoyed me so much. I thought, if I had pockets, if only I had 18th century pockets where I could fit everything in, I probably wouldn't have left this book behind. And I just let go of the self consciousness of wearing something a bit different from everybody else. And I started making my own skirts and now my own dresses. There's actually one of them up there. And yes, I dress like a Victorian essentially every day. Sometimes I pair it with a modern tea, but I have that's become my uniform, and it's completely transformed my life. I have the most wonderful interactions with people every day who are just curious, and I get to talk to really interesting people. I'd say for me, Oxford is kind of a home away from home because I haven't lived there for many years, but some of my fondest memories of my life are there. And going back feels like almost going back to my parents' house. It's a place I'm amazingly familiar with, but somebody might have moved a jug. You know, maybe a new building's been done or something. Something's changed, and it's always exciting to see what's going on. The city is so dynamic. There's always something or many things going on. There's always something new to see or new to experience. And if I had the chance to move back, I definitely would. I don't think I would be an author if it wasn't for my time at Oxford. And in particular, the degree that I chose. So I did history of art, and history of art is just stories. Every single object, every single artwork, every single thing that I was reading about and investigating and learning about is a thousand different potential stories, a thousand different potential novels or main characters. Just so rich as a subject. And also, I think being at Harris Manchester College as well, just it's such a wonderful community and it's so supportive that I actually was able to find some time to explore some other projects, and that sowed the seeds for my writing journey. I love Fort Meadow. So I lived in Jericho for 3 years when I was a student and right next to the meadow. It would take about 3 minutes to go from my front door onto the meadows. And I used to go for walks really, really early in the morning when the light would be sort of thin, but just brightening at the edges and the mist would be kind of covering the grass. And it's just so beautiful. So if you can get out to that part of town, it's like suddenly you're in the city and then 2 seconds later you're in the middle of the countryside. But and you can see all the beautiful skyline and the spires of Oxford. It's such a calming place. I think particularly when you're a stressed student, just being able to go out there and take a walk and take a breath. It's a wonderful magical place in the city. Incomparable.